They painted his mailbox yellow, and that was the last thing they gotta decide. One man's quiet weekend project, staining his fence sour Marthy Brown, sparked a warning saw coming. What started a simple home upgrade turned into a six-figure battle with the HOA a foot off. In a Zanda neighborhood torn in half. They said the color violated Clause 7.3 of the Architectural Guidelines. Hesai dit washes property his would his life. But when the HOA president showed up with Akane Sawat Dawn, everything changed. How far would you go to defend your home? And who really has the power, Therials and paper, or the people who live behind them? This isn't just about paint. It's about control, pride. Aman pushed too far. Stay until the end, you won't believe what did next. Jake Mercer wasn't a rebel. He wasn't looking for trouble. He was the kind of guy who mowed his lawn on Saturday morn. Ings with military precision waved at neighbors like it was his Joe band. This garage door closed out of sheer respect for the view. He'd lived in Cedar Ridge for 7 years, the kind of planned community with treeland streets, matching mailboxes, and a homeowners association that on paper existed to preserve property values and curb appeal. O.J. Kite was just home. A place where his daughter could rid her be. 'Cause safely where the trash got picked upon time, and where the worst thing that usual happened was some forgetting to trim their boxwood hedges. Henda's wife Naomi had bought the house when she was pregnant with Lily. It wasn't the biggest on the block beaut at a backyard, with a swing set, a covered porch for summer rain, and enough space to grows. Thing real. They'd painted then Ursari sunflower yellow. They'd hosted block parties. They'd waved from the driveway when the HOA president Diane Kessler walked her poodle past at 7 a.m. sharp. Diane had been on the board for over a decade. Orga. Nice polished and always dressed leak showzo meeting away from tis. Tiffying in court. Sharanthi Architectural Review Committee. Like a general land here mails. Always CC2 the entire board. Per HOA Bylaws Section 4.2. All exterior modifications require prior written approval. Jake had read the rule book once. Skimmed it really. Every own edit, and like most people heffaled dunder. Annoying but harmless. Like speed bumps and recycling bins. Then came the July heat wave. The kind that made pavement shimmer and the air taste like us. The old cedar fence, warped, cracked, bleached by years of sun. Finally, after storm, one panel collapsed into third like a tired soldier. So Jake replaced it. Hepike Derek natural stain. Desert brown. Thekin said. Earthy. Warm. Blended with the trees. I figured it was a no-brainer. A fixin'. Otis statement. He didn't ask for permission. And for 3 days everything was fine. Then the letter came. Stamped. Official. Violation. Notice. Unauthorized exterior modification. They said the color wasn't the approved palette. They said it that'd go. But Jake wasn't expecting what cam next because a noon ever does. When rules stop being guidelines and start being weapons, the first letter arrived in a crisp white envelope, typed, stamp, and then slipped under Jake. Spack door like a warning. Violation notice. Unauthorized fence staining, color note and approved palette. It cited sections as veer off the Cedar Ridge design guidelines. Exterior wood finishes must be neutral earth tones as defined in 3018 Architectural Standards Addendum. Desert brown? No the list. Jake stared at it over his morning coffee. He'd replaced a rotting fence with something safer, sturdier, and frankly better looking. He hadn't painted it neon green. He hadn't carved a skull into it. It was brown. He called the HOA office. Olitan confused. Can I just submit for approval? The woman on the phone, Marge from compliance, told him no. The work was done with prior authorization. Approval isn't retroactive. Bootis just a color, Jake said. Rules are rules. Share applied and hung up. 2 days later a second letter came. This one included effin' 150 Duantan days. Jake paid just to clear the air. Butha didn't change the fence. Big mistake. Because to the OA payment wasn't surrender, it was admission of guilt. And now they had precedent. The fines doubled, then tripled. A new notice arrived every week. 1, 50, 300, 500, all for the same violation. all with escalating late fees. By the third month, the total topped $2,800. Naomi begged him to just repaint it. "It's not worth it, Jake. We can't keeply FEBSA.all. Eating money over a fence." But something had shifted in him. It wasn't about the color anymore. It was about principle. About the fact that they'd sent a drone over his yard to photograph the stains watch. That Diane Kessler had been seen talking to other neighbors whispering behind hands at the pool. That Lily came home fro. MS school saying kids were calling their house the outlaw house. Then came the hearing. Jake was summoned to the HOA board meeting, held in the community clubhouse under fluorescent light, 7 p.m. on a Tuesday. He walked in to find 7 board members, seated behind a long table, notebooks open, pens poised. Diane Essatat, the center wearing an AV blazer and a smile that didn't treat her eyes. "You've ignored five notices," she said. "You've disrupted community harmony. This isn't personal, Jake, but we have standards." He asked to see the approved palette. They handed him a laminated chart. 32 colors, all shad. It's of beige gray and what could only be described as sad taupe. Cert Brown wasn't there. Jake argued that their yell was arbitrary, that the fence improved safety, that no one had complained before the HOA did. Diana cut them off. "This isn't a debate. You have 30 days to Andra paint the fence in an approved call. Or for legal action. Legal action. The word shun. Gin the air like a threat. He left the room with a final notice step to his file folder, and a growing sense that this wasn't about aesthetics. It was about power, and they weren't done. Because the next week they cited him for overgrown grass. Jake mowed every Saturday. But the heat wave had turned the lawn brittle. A few patches were yellow. Still he mowed. Still hedged. But the HOA sent a compliance officer. Snapped photos. Declared tabulation. Another 150. Then came the mailbox. He'd repainted it. Last spring sunflower yellowed. "Oh, match Lily's room. It brings joy," Naomi had said. "Ow." Unauthorized color modification. Violation. Jake stared at the notice, then at the mailbox. Something inside him snapped. He didn't pay. And that's when the real war began. The fines piled up like snow in a storm. 500 for excessive time/.com. E-holiday lighting. He'd put upon a string of solar-powered stars. 254 unapproved potted plants in front porch. 3 terracotta pots with petunias. 404 obstructing community sightlines because head parked struck in the driveway overnight after working late. Each violation came with a photo. Time-stamped. Circled in red. Worse neighbors start avoiding him. Some glared. Others pulled their kids off the sidewalk when he walked by. One morning, he found a note to his front door. "No one to back down." Naomi agreed. Lily asked if they were going to jail. Jake felt like a criminal in his own home. But then, something changed. He started editing. Late nights, spreadsheets, PDF softby laws, state statutes, and Homeowner. RS rights. Having a clause buried in HOA's own charter. No fine may be levied without a formal vote by the board with proper notice and opportunity for appeal. His fines must had been approved in executive session, a loophole Diane used to bypass public votes. Illegal, unenforceable. Had drafted a formal appeal, cited the law, demanded the fines be voided. The board rejected it. Then he discovered something even bigger. Cedar Ridge's bylaws required all architectural decisions made by a design committee, not the full board. But Diane had dissolved that committee 2 years ago after a member challenged her authority. Since then she has been personally approving ordinal exterior requests, including his, without a meet the. Her decisions had no legal standing. Jake wasn't the one breaking rules. She was. He gathered documents, photos, emails, state housing codes. And then he did something new in Cedar Ridge had ever done. He filed a formal complaint with E County Housing Authority and requested investigation into the HOA's financial practices. Because if they were breaking rules on design approvals, what else were they hiding? The day after he filed, the tone changed. No more fines. No more letters. But Diana started showing up at the park when Lily was playing, watching, smiling. And on morning Jake's sprinkler system was vandalized, pipe slashed, valves miss. Inge. Coincidence? I didn't think so. Then came the email. From an anonymous sender. Subject line. You're not the first. Attached was a spreadsheet. Names. Addresses. Violation records. Fines. 12 homeowners. All hit with sudden aggressive enforcement after disagreeing with Diane. One lost their home totally in foreclosure. Another moved away in the middle of the night. And at the bottom of the list, Jake's name. With a new note added, final warning, remove the fence. Orlos everything. Jake printed the email, folded it, slipped it into his pocket. That night the stood in his spork staring at the brown fence under the moonlight. It wasn't just wooden stain anymore. It, wassailing in the dirt. Andy wasn't backing down. Becco Sano, W. This wasn't just about a fence. It was about justice. And the next move would change everything. The town hall meeting was supposed to be routine. Just our quarterly update from the Cedar Ridge Board budget reports landscaping schedules. Maybe a quick reminder about trash day. The community clubhouse washhole full. Retirees with folding chairs, young parents bouncing toddlers sand, a few people scrolling on their phones in the back. Diane Kessler stood at the podium, crisp and polished in her cream-colored blazer, adjusting themic like shone the room. She didn't see Jake walkin'. He wasn't dressed like a rebel. Just jeans, a dark shirt, tunda manilaf, older tucked under his arm. But the moment they stepped through the door, the air changed. Naomi sat near the front. She'd told known he was coming. Diane was mid-sentence, something about preserving community standards, when Yaka raised his hand. May ispe. AK. Their room turned. Diane blinked. Jake Mercer, you're noting agenda. I'm a homeowner, he said, and I have a right to speak during open forum. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Some looked curious, others very uncomfortable. After you avoided eye contact entirely. Diane hesitated. Fine, 2 minutes. Jake walked to the front, placed the folder on the table, opened it slowly. Then he looked up. You've fined me over 11,000 for a brown fence. Their room stilled. You've targeted my family. You've harassed my wife. You've mad at my daughter afraid to walk home fro MS school. His voice said in twaver. But what you don't know is that every single one of those finessa illegal. Gasps. Whispers. Someone had dropped a water bottle. Diane stood rigid. That's defamatory. Jake turned to the projector screen behind him. He'd brought his own laptop. Plugged it in. And with one click, released the evidence. First, the bill. AWS. Highlighted clauses proving that fines require a formal board vote with notice, and that none of his had been properly approved. Then the design committee dissolution. Proof that Diana unilaterally take control of all architectural decisions without a authorization. Then the spreadsheet. Felistoft Welvoth, Air Homeowners, the fines, the force moves, Thessalance, and finally, county records. Copies of the official complaint filed. The investigation had begun. Theroom erupted. People stood, shouted, demanded answers. Onum,